Hoyo haven't lit up in awesome 5-star characters and have been on somewhat of a heater recently. We had Sparkled Banner, who is possibly the best Harmony character in the game, then releasing the best DPS character in the game, being Acheron, and now releasing a possible great in Aventurine, who is going to be a new Preservation limited 5-star character. Been some time since we've said that. Much like his other limited 5-star Preservation unit counterpart in Fushwin, Aventurine simply just doesn't provide defense for your team, but is capable of dishing out damage as well. So let's just dive into his playstyle and builds. As previously stated, Aventurine is going to be a Preservation unit, so first, let's talk about his defensive capabilities. Aventurine's defensive stat, much like Japard, is going to be the main focus of his kit. His basic attack will be scaling from 50 to 130% of Aventurine's defense. His skill, though, will be providing a shield called Fortified Wager, which will block 16 to 28% of Aventurine's defense plus 80 to 410 of damage to all allies for 3 turns. However, if you use his skill again while Fortified Wager is active, then you can stack the shield effect from 32 to 56% plus 160 to 820 damage. The last aspect of his defensive capabilities is his trace, Hot Hand. While Aventurine's defensive abilities are great and make him a fantastic tank, we need to cover his offensive capabilities now. So this is where things kick up a notch. First, let's discuss his ultimate. You can randomly gain 1 to 7 stacks of Blind Bet, then increase the crit damage taken by an enemy by 9 to 18% for 3 turns, and you will deal 162 to 324% damage of Aventurine's defense in imaginary damage. Another of his traces, Bingo. Whenever an ally who has Fortified Wager launches a follow-up attack, Aventurine will gain 1 stack of Blind Bet. After Aventurine launches a follow-up attack from his talent, he will provide all allies with Fortified Shield blocking 7.2% of damage plus 96, and an additional Fortified Wager shield to the ally with low shield of Aventurine's defense plus 80 for 3 turns. Aventurine's talent, Sights Aimed Right, will increase all allies' effect resistance by 25% while having Fortified Wager, and whenever they are attacked with Fortified Wager, Aventurine will gain 1 stack of Blind Bet. Aventurine will also resist crowd control debuffs while having Fortified Wager. Once Blind Bet reaches 7 stacks, Aventurine will launch a follow-up attack dealing 12.5 to 31.25% of defense attack to a random enemy. As we see with Aventurine's kit, he is definitely going to want his defensive stat to be extremely high as much as other Preservation counterparts, but is also capable of dishing out a lot of damage with his follow-up attacks. So obviously the best set for Aventurine is going to be Knight of Purity Palace, and while I normally don't talk about substats on the Relic sets themselves, ideally you want as much defensive stat as you can get. But if you manage to roll some decent damage stats, then honestly that is going to be an alright, considering Aventurine is going to be doing a lot of damage just inherently based in scaling off of his defense. So what I think are some nice niche tech relics are going to be the Ash Blazing Grand Duke. Again, ideally you want most of your substats in defense and benefit massively from the increased follow-up damage output. For ornament sets, the best one is going to be Belobog of the Architects, increasing your defense by 15%, and if you get your effective hit rate above 50%, you benefit from an additional 15 extra defense. More so, with the ornament sets, I don't really think you have another option, maybe Inert Salsado, but I think staying with the Belobog set will just be the main focus. As we come to the Lightcone options, again, as you can tell from the common trend here with Aventurine, that raise that defensive stat. So starting off with his signature Unjust Destiny, it will be increasing his defense by 36%, increase the crit damage by 40% for 2 turns whenever he provides a shield, and finally all enemies will take 8% more damage for 2 turns after follow-up attacks. Moment of Victory, which in my opinion is the best option as it provides 24 to 40% defense plus 24 to 40 effective hit rate, and whenever the wearer is attacked, you further increase your defense by 24 to 40%. Fushuan's Lightcone won't work as it revolves around HP, and the Hurdle Shop Lightcone focuses on applying a shield, so again, won't really work with Aventurine. Some 4-star options will be Day 1 of My New Life, increase defense by 16 to 24% after entering battle, increase all type resistance by 8 to 12%. This Is Me, increase defense by 16 to 32%, and finally, Tread on the Universal Market, increase defense by 16 to 32%, and when you are attacked, inflict a burn on the enemy, and that burn damage equals to 40 to 80% of your defense. As you can see, Aventurine is going to be massively focused on that key defensive stat, something very similar to Gepard rather than Fushuan. And because of how his damage output and shield works, everything revolves around having a high defensive stat. So, could some interesting tech options pop up for Aventurine? Possibly. I might try out some other options and possibly make an offensive Aventurine set usable. I'll have to test that and see how that goes. But another thing to note about Aventurine is his ability to apply a debuff to the enemy, that being the increased damage taken by the enemy. So you can also throw him onto Acheron teams. So it does broaden his options for team comps, but overall I do think Aventurine is going to be a fantastic unit.